Hi, I'm Tim Carr with Oracle Advertising, and today I'm here with Jay. Jay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Great, yeah. Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm Jay Altschuler. I lead global media for Mastercard.
Great. Jay, you are here today with Brand Innovators to talk about current state and future state of brand safety. I'd love to dive into that a little bit deeper with you today now. So brand safety, we work in that space a little bit at Oracle Advertising with one of our products, Moat. This is a topic where every brand has a different perspective in terms of what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And certain industries have different standards. I have to imagine with an industry like financial services and Mastercard that, you probably have a pretty high bar there. How do you view brand safety?
Yeah, brand safety is really integral into the way that we plan our media and really think about the brand more broadly. We have a priceless campaign that's 25 years young this year. And there's a lot of equity that's been invested into the brand, and there's nothing more important to us than the power of the brand. Because ultimately, Mastercard is a trust mark within the financial services category. And because of that, we have to really elevate the brand to the highest standards and make sure that we are meeting the expectations of the consumers that we serve.
So when we were catching up, before this, you had made a statement, and I thought it really resonated. Do well by doing good.
Yeah, we really hold that very true to kind of our purpose as a company. I mean, we're a company that really believes in inclusivity in all ways, and part of the way that we go to market, we want to make sure that we're always responsible in the way that we do that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap with that concept and the concept of brand safety, because it's more than just what you want to stay away from. It extends beyond that into that brand suitability and doing good as well.
Yeah.
So digging into brand safety a little bit more, this is something that you have a lot of passion for. I mean, your scope is really broad, but this is an area that you're heavily involved with. Could you share a little bit, what is your involvement in brand safety more broadly?
Yeah, it is important to me personally, as well as to the business and the company. And because of that, I sit on the steerco of GARM, which is the leading brand safety trade body. And I feel blessed and honored to be part of that steerco to help really drive the vision of brand safety standards for the industry.
Yeah, I think they're critically important kind of governing bodies and organizations to help us navigate some of these things, because they're tricky, and it does require a lot of collaboration from a lot of different partners. So it's great that you've been able to play that role. You're
totally right about that. It does take, I think, a full ecosystem of like-minded folks that are around this. It's brands, it's tech providers, it's agencies. And really all of us, and publishers, by the way, all of us thinking about, what is best for the industry, what's best for us individually, and ultimately what's the best experience for the consumers that we all collectively serve.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And this notion, we know it's really important, and there's this idea that you want to do no harm, but I think if you go back and look at some of the earlier iterations or means that some people had tried to put in place to create brand safe environments may have had some unintended consequences. Could you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I think what we want to ensure, and I'll just speak for Mastercard, is that we want to ensure that we are in the right contextual places that match the message, that match the right kind of mindset, and ultimately kind of create the right brand experience. We're not necessarily what I call a spots and dots advertiser. We are very focused on elevating the power of the brand and creating experiences that are culturally relevant. And when you do that, when you're part of culture, context really is key, and the company that you keep is key. And so, it's tough to kind of make blanket statements of, an exclusion list or an inclusion list. You really have to understand the context in, the way that you provide the right guidelines and guardrails for the brand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And some of the the basics of using things like context to make sure that you are able to avoid those blacklists or single words used alone that have sometimes caused difficulty in things like quality publishers being able to monetize their inventory. But when you use some of those tools that have been developed across multiple bodies like GARM, or using some of the more contextual tools, you can help avoid those types of things happening. And maybe more importantly, also use them to proactively place your ads in those types of contexts that audiences that you're trying to reach, or types of publishers or platforms that you want to invest your media dollars with, because they stand for similar things that your brand does.
Yeah, I think there's a few dynamics that are going on right now. One, it feels like there's a little bit of a paradox that's happening. As we lean into more technology and tools that help us with precision targeting, I think maybe we've been losing a little bit of that transparency of where those ads are actually running. And when we talk about context, context for us also equals transparency. We need to have a good sense of where our ads are going to run, how it's going to show up, and the experience that we're going to create. And because of that, we actually have a different way that we go to market and the way that we plan. We're very focused on the attention economy and how we maximize attention, while we maximize the impact of the experience that we're creating for consumers. And because of that, it's not just about finding the right audience. It's about finding the right audience, with the right mindset, creating the right experience based on the program that we're creating. And so, a lot of this is very bespoke.
Yeah, I think that, to me, aside from all of the other benefits of context, and certainly it's becoming very popular again with things like, when cookies do eventually get deprecated in certain environments, they are important. That context is really important there. But you hit on something that I think is really, really key, is that a lot of audience type targeting is you get to know someone's interest based on their past behaviors, but you have no idea what they're thinking about right now. There's value to having those types of solutions, but context lets you understand that mindset that they're in right now based on the type of content that they're engaging with. So I think it's really helpful, and we had talked about that. It's this ability to then marry your creative with that right context and bring those two together.
Yeah. I think that's the point. When we talk about brand safety, it's really kind of in the broadest sense of making sure that it's suitable, meaning kind of the right context. But ultimately, how do we create the right experience for these consumers? We are an experience-based marketing company, not just a reach-based company. Because of the power of the brand and kind of what that brand means for consumers and ultimately the banks that we serve. And so we have a lot of big tentpole sponsorships that we're involved in, whether that's the Grammys or Major League Baseball. In the UK we have the Brits, and different tennis and golf tournaments. And so we create really amazing experiences, both on the ground. But how do we bring more people into that, kind of pre, during, and post? And that is finding the right set of partners that ultimately inherently are engaged with the content itself. And then how do we think of ourselves as a content partner within that to create more value for the consumers? Really it's about elevating the entire experience. And we need to do that in a way that allows us to customize the experience and customize where we place our ads, but using technology to put the right guardrails around it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And you think about that, where you do have these really powerful experiences in those moments, but not everyone can participate in them. Maybe they're just watching them from afar, and you can use digital to extend and continue those moments and kind of carry them on. And the last thing that you want to have happen is then have that digital experience show up in an environment that could hurt that brand. So it makes so much sense why these have to come together.
Everything's so carefully curated on the ground. We need to put that same curation into the digital experience as well.
Yeah, and I think that gets to not only just having the tools, which the tools are available, it's really using them and making sure you really understand how they work. I think that's on folks like us to make sure that we do that, not just say we use them, but really put them to use in action. There's one other topic I want to touch on because I think it's appropriate. Earth Day was this week, and we think about topics like brand safety, and then brand suitability kind of extends a little bit further out, and it's about doing brand suitability moves more into doing good and avoiding harm. Another topic I think is important is that topic of sustainability. How do you think those two kind of marry with each other, and are there overlaps in that space?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely do. And this is part of the way that we are approaching brand safety in the broadest, through the broadest lens. And again, I'll kind of use the three legs of the stool, where we have kind of brand safety as one leg, attention as another leg, and ultimately sustainability, which is an output, if you will. But that's kind of three legs of the stool, all tightly interconnected. And so the point being that as we start to unpack our carbon footprint as a company, we realize that digital advertising actually has a fairly large carbon footprint, and especially digital video and social video in particular. And so, we have to understand, kind of our role, in buying and planning media ethically and sustainably. This is the way that I think our industry has to move forward, and that this is all interconnected. We can't have a healthy ecosystem if ultimately there is a large carbon footprint in kind of the way that we buy and plan and optimize media. And so that is another dimension of the safety of the brand. We have an external kind of consumer-facing program and business-facing program called the Priceless Planet Coalition. And ultimately we can't responsibly have a program like that if we're not also kind of walking the walk.
Yeah, I think it's so important, and it's a topic that's come up quite a bit in the advertising and marketing space, call it maybe the last 2 years. And I think there's this element. We did a study as well. We wanted to get an understanding of what is that relationship. We didn't look at all those legs, but two of them that you said, attention and carbon footprint. And in that research, we were finding that, this, there's good media and bad media. There's lots of different environments that you can place your ads. And what we found in this study was that when you place ads in high attentive, placements in environments that do capture high attention, that it actually correlates to lower emissions. So that's one of those small steps that you can take, is making sure that you're not just getting reach by buying any media. It's focusing on that attentive reach or that attentive CPM, because it helps you accomplish both of those objectives.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part about this, is that it's all tightly interconnected. To your point, our research also kind of concludes that when we are optimizing on attention and attentive reach, that ultimately you need less impressions to make that impact with the consumer. Less impressions equals less carbon footprint.
Right, and then a lot of this just comes down to, in my mind, having the data and looking at these things, because there are choices that we can all make, and you can achieve some of these goals just in different ways. There was another one that you had touched on when we prepped around this for video size and video compressions, and part of that, and I'd love if you could touch on it, around the technology side, but some of it's also just looking at the size of content that we're creating for the environment that it's going into. Does it always need to be such a large piece of content if it's not made for that? But if you design it for that environment, then we might be able to make some significant changes right there.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the work that I'm doing with GARM, I mean, GARM is not just about brand safety in the most traditional sense. I mean, we are working on the sustainability aspect as well. And that's why I'm saying all of this is very interconnected. But to your point, I think what we're finding, the reason why digital video and social video, emit such a large carbon footprint is because of large file sizes. And so, that is one of the things that we're working on, kind of as a company, but also, kind of through GARM, because it will take an industry body for us to figure this out. There has to be, certain file size standards and ceilings that we can put depending on, the type of content that we're talking about. And, and I think, there's probably technology out there that can help us. We're working with a few partners in particular. One's called Seen This, which is a file compression technology, and they have an ability to reduce file sizes without reducing the impact of the creative output, that fidelity of the creative output. And so, that is a fantastic type of evolution in the way that we can go to market, where we can think about, ethically how we go to market, kind of leveraging a brand safety tech stack in, the broadest sense of brand safety when we talk about attention, brand safety, sustainability.
That's great. I really appreciate you spending some time and talking about these, because I think the work that you're doing through GARM, the work that you're doing on your own, and working with partners like us and others in the ecosystem, it really does take people coming together to, one, identify these problems, opportunities, put the work in place, and then actually just go put them in action. And when we do that, it can have meaningful impact.
We agree. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for letting us talk through this. It's really important to us, and like you said, I think it really takes the entire industry for us to figure this out together.
Great. Well, great chat. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tim.
Bye.
Appreciate it.